On a Wednesday afternoon in 2003, my wife got served divorce papers at work. And at the exact same time, her secret lover's wife was being shown pictures of him in a sleazy motel room. By dinner, both of their lives were in flames, because I made sure of it. Pause. Let the silence breathe for one beat. D. Intro call to action. Next 15 seconds. If you've ever been lied to, if you've ever looked someone in the eyes and known they were hiding something, this one's for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready, because this revenge didn't just end one affair. It detonated 2 marriages and an entire career. E. Full narrative expansion. 1. The setup, a gut you can't ignore. Back in the early 2000s, life looked normal from the outside. I had 2 kids, 4 and 6 years old, both full of that boundless, exhausting energy only young kids have. My wife worked part-time, and when she wasn't at her job, she was with them. Or at least, that's what I thought. Then, little things started piling up. At first, it was the kids mentioning they'd been at their grandparents' house during the day. Not strange in itself, except my wife's parents lived 90 minutes away. That's a 3-hour round trip. And it wasn't just once in a while, it was 2, sometimes 3 times a week. Every week. That meant almost every day she wasn't working, she was driving nearly 2 hours to drop them off. For what? I asked her about it one night. She smiled, too quickly. Oh, Mom and Dad love seeing them. Gives me a break. Her voice was casual, but her eyes darted just a little too fast. I knew that look. She'd never been a good liar. 2. First steps into the rabbit hole. I decided to stop asking questions and start tracking answers. Every morning, before she left, I noted the mileage on her car. At night, I checked it again. Within a week, the numbers slapped me in the face. Over 400 extra miles. Miles that weren't explained by work, errands, or visits to her parents. My gut wasn't just whispering anymore, it was screaming. 3. The smoking gun, digital stupidity. Then fate handed me the kind of break you only see in movies. One evening, I sat down at our family computer and saw a yellow sticky note sitting by the keyboard. On it, my wife's AOL email password, written in her handwriting. It was like she'd left the door unlocked with a neon sign saying "Come in." I shouldn't have, but I did. Inside her inbox, I found a string of emails between her and her college best friend. They weren't just gossiping, they were bragging. Laughing about how my wife was regularly hooking up with one of her high school exes. Talking trash about his wife, mocking her for gaining weight after kids. I sat there, hands shaking, reading every word. The room felt smaller. My ears rang. My marriage wasn't just in trouble, it was already gone. I printed those emails and hid them. They were going to come in handy. 4. The PI, precision over rage. Catching her was one thing. But I needed details, dates, times, undeniable proof. A friend of mine was a cop, and when I told him what I suspected, he gave me the name of a retired officer who'd gone into private investigation. Ron. He was one of those guys with a calm, steady voice that made you feel like nothing could shake him. I handed him the emails, the mileage logs, and every scrap of suspicion I had. 2 weeks later, Ron handed me a thick report. Photos, times, dates. She'd drop the kids at her parents' house, meet this guy for lunch, and then head to a rundown motel. A few hours later, she'd pick up the kids, smile in my face, and carry on like nothing happened. The man's name? Bob. Married. 3 kids. Vice president of sales at his father-in-law's company. The same day I read that report, I called my lawyer. 5. The plan. 2 birds, 1 detonator. I grew up in a home wrecked by cheating. My parents' affairs shattered my childhood. I swore I'd never let my kids live through that kind of chaos. So I told my lawyer, draw up the divorce papers. And I told Ron, I need more copies of that report. Here's where the plan took shape. Bob's wife. She deserved to know. And I wanted both of them to feel the ground drop out from under them at the exact same time. 6. Execution day. Synchronized destruction. Wednesday morning. At 11:03 a.m., a process server walked into my wife's workplace and handed her the divorce papers. At 11:04, Ron sat down with Bob's wife in a quiet cafe. He slid the photos across the table, Bob with my wife, entering and leaving a cheap motel. The look on her face. He told me later she went from confusion, to shock, to a kind of cold fury. The aftershocks. For me, the emails and the PI report didn't change the divorce much legally. But for Bob, it was nuclear. Bob's wife cleaned out their joint account, took the kids, and left. Her father, the man who owned the company Bob worked for, fired him on the spot. Since her parents also owned their home, Bob was evicted within weeks. The divorce between them turned into an all-out war, restraining orders, police calls, even a broken nose when her brother stepped in during one argument. Criminal charges. Jail time. Last I heard, Bob left the state. I couldn't find him online if I tried. My ex and I stayed civil for the kids. We only talked about parenting, nothing more. Now that they're grown, we don't speak at all. I don't hate her. I just don't care. And maybe that's the sweetest revenge of all, knowing I got justice, and then walking away without letting her live rent-free in my head. On the same day she thought she'd fooled me, I watched her life implode in two separate places. My marriage was over, but so was Bob's. And when I saw that report in my hands, I knew I'd turned their affair into their downfall. They thought they could lie and get away with it. They were wrong. Some people think revenge is about screaming, throwing things, making a scene. But the best revenge? It's calm. It's methodical. And it hits where it hurts the most. In the end, both of them lost everything they'd gambled for a few hours in a cheap motel. Karma just needed a little push. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and share it with someone who loves a good dose of karma. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove the best payback is the one they never see coming. If you want, I can also add dramatic pacing notes, music cue suggestions, and narrator emphasis markers so the voiceover delivers maximum emotional punch. That way, this script won't just be a story, it'll feel like a short film in the listener's head. Do you want me to add those cinematic delivery notes?